Once upon a time, the noon bell of Verdantwood rang in broad daylight, and the Moonwater Spring turned black as ink in the same instant. Birds cut their song short, mist surged between the trunks, and the forest's usual kindness tightened into a listening hush, as if something beneath the roots had just been betrayed. Somewhere deep below, roots shivered like strings of a harp, and even stones seemed to remember the vow that had kept them warm for centuries too. Verdantwood was a woodland where magic tried to be gentle. Streams glittered with tiny sparks, and lost travelers often found their feet guided by moss that seemed to remember the safest way. All of it came from Moonwater, a hidden spring where the forest's oldest enchantment gathered. Its guardian was Saffron, a small golden snake with calm, dark eyes. He protected a vow: take only what is needed, ask with truth, and never turn mercy into merchandise. At the forest's edge stood a village. That winter, sickness crept from house to house. Ayaan's mother, Sophia, grew pale and fevered until her breath sounded thin as paper. Healers tried roots and prayers, but the illness stayed. Elders repeated an old story. Moonwater could mend what was fading if the seeker approached the guardian with clean intent. Ayaan loved his mother more than he trusted rules. Before dawn, he slipped into Verdantwood with a clay flask and a lantern. At first, the forest seemed to welcome him. Pine-scented wind nudged his back, and a pale moth fluttered ahead like a guide. By midday, he reached a clearing where the spring lay in a bowl of stone, shimmering like moonlight caught in glass. Saffron rested beside it on a sun-warmed rock, coiled and still, watching Ayaan with patient attention, as if waiting to be asked. Ayaan stepped forward to speak the truth and saw movement at the edge of the trees. Haroon the trader and Kareem the miller, two men from the village, crept closer with a chain and an iron ring etched in stolen symbols. Their faces held the bright hunger of people who smell profit. Haroon murmured that kings would pay for such water. Kareem nodded, dreaming of a life without grinding grain. Ayaan's stomach dropped. If they took the spring, Sophia would never be saved. If he warned Saffron, the men might crush him before he could act. Fear shoved him toward the quickest path. Ayaan made a soft sound to draw Saffron's attention, hoping to buy a heartbeat. The men lunged anyway. The chain snapped around the guardian's slender body, and the iron ring clamped into the earth like teeth, biting the magic beneath. Saffron did not strike. He only looked at Ayaan, and that gaze held a quiet heartbreak deeper than anger. Kareem plunged a jar into the spring. Moonwater flared, then dimmed, and the noon bell rang from under the oldest oak with a note sharp as broken glass. Haroon and Kareem dragged the caged snake away, laughing as if they had captured luck itself. Ayaan stood with his empty flask, shaking, realizing he had helped steal the forest's heart. The path home turned hostile. Brambles rose where moss had been. Branches scraped his shoulders as though trying to stop a lie from leaving the woods. Mist followed him like a cold witness. That night, Verdantwood's anger crossed the boundary. Vines tightened around the village well and the river ran sluggish. In Ayaan's room, Ayaan watched his mother's breath falter and knew he could not pour stolen magic into her mouth, not when the jar in Haroon's house had already turned its water to shadow. Outside the window, a branch tapped the glass in slow, patient knocks as if counting down. On the third night, the tapping stopped, and the silence felt like a door closing. Ayaan understood then that the forest's patience was not endless. He took up his lantern and returned to Verdantwood with empty hands and a confession he could no longer swallow. Mist swallowed him at the tree line. The woods no longer felt like a place, they felt like judgment. The noon bell rang again, though it was midnight, guiding him deeper as surely as guilt. The trail led him to a vine-choked watchtower ruin where the air smelled of wet stone and old regret. Inside, on a cracked altar, sat Saffron's cage. The snake was coiled tight, conserving warmth, his glow dim but not extinguished. When Ayaan approached, Saffron lifted his head slowly, and the air between them seemed to hold every swallowed word. Ayaan spoke without hiding. He admitted his fear, his betrayal, and the selfishness he had dressed in love. He promised he would return the spring to the forest, even if the village cast him out. The cage was sealed with greed magic, fed by lies. Ayaan understood that regret meant only to soothe wouldn't open it. Truth needed a cost. He gripped the chain with both hands and pulled until iron cut his palms. Blood dotted the links, tears blurred the stone. He did not beg to be spared, he only refused to look away. The lock clicked, not from force, but from surrender. Saffron slid free and light returned to his scales like sunrise finding a valley. The guardian did not punish the boy. He touched Ayaan's wounded hand with his cool snout, and the pain eased, not as a prize, but as a sign that effort had been seen. Then Saffron turned toward the deeper woods, and Ayaan followed. On the return, Verdantwood tested them with wind and thorns, but Ayaan kept walking, and little by little the brambles withdrew. At the clearing, the spring lay dark under the iron ring, a cruel crown around the basin. Saffron circled it, tense. Iron was not his enemy, betrayal bound to iron was. Ayaan knelt and laid both hands on the cold metal. He spoke a vow in plain words. The spring would never be used for profit, and the village would hear the truth from his own mouth. He would accept punishment, but he would not hide behind fear again. The etched symbols flared, then cracked. Saffron pressed his body against the ring, and together they lifted. Rust screamed. The metal crumbled into flakes the wind carried away like dead leaves. The moment the last fragment vanished, the water cleared. Birds returned in a rush of song. Mist softened into harmless dew. The noon bell fell silent, relieved. Ayaan filled his flask carefully, only to the brim, and carried what was needed. At Sophia's bedside, he did not pretend. He told her the whole truth, letting shame sit in the room beside him. Sophia listened with tired eyes and fierce love, and her fingers clutched around his as if anchoring him to better choices. Ayaan offered her a sip of moonwater. Warmth moved through her like sunrise through frost. Color returned to her cheeks. Her breathing deepened, steady and sure. At dawn, Ayaan stood before the village and confessed so no one could hide behind silence. Haroon and Kareem could not deny their greed, and the elders demanded every stolen jar. When the last was returned, the shadows inside dissolved into clear light. Vines loosened from the well, and the river ran bright again. In time, the village placed no fences at Verdantwood's border. Instead, they set a small stone marker carved with a promise: take only what is needed and never with a lie. Children left berries there, not as a payment, but as gratitude. Sometimes travelers claimed they saw a golden snake sunning himself near hidden paths, his eyes calm, his presence a quiet reminder. And when the noon bell rang years later on a day of bright wind, the village listened without fear, knowing magic was a trust kept by truth.